Hello, everyone, and a very good morning and to everyone. Today, I'll be talking about nuclear power generation, which is consists of how it works, its components, its advantages and disadvantages, and why it plays such an important role in the energy production today. We kick things off with the principle of nuclear power generation. So, nuclear power generation is a harness energy from the nuclear fission where uranium 235 atoms are split in the controlled change reaction, releasing immense heat. That this heat converts to water into steam, driving the turbines and generating electricity. So, why it does is at the heart of nuclear power, its nuclear fission. They will process it involves of splitting the uranium 235 atoms, and with this will create a in control change reaction. When these atoms splits, they release a large amount of heat. While this heat is used to turn water into steam. When it's turned steam, then spins into the turbine to generate electricity. It's a clean and efficient way to produce energy without burning any fossil fuels. The next part I want to talk about is the advantages and disadvantages. The first advantages is that they will produce no polluting gases such as carbon dioxide. So you're probably wondering why it doesn't release gases such as carbon dioxide. Well, it's because there is no combustion. Unlike fossil fuels that we use coal, oil, or natural gas, nuclear energy doesn't burn any carbon dioxide, carbon-based materials. It doesn't involve a chemical reaction with oxygen that produce carbon dioxide or other greenhouse gases. And also, it's because of fission and not burning. The energy comes from the splitting atoms and they're not burning them, so there is no release of carbon based emission during the power generation. The next advantages is nuclear energy helps the country to grow economically. So there are actually a lot of reasons why that nuclear energy helps country to grow. But for today's presentation, I'm going to talk about two reasons that why nuclear energy helps the country to grow economically. The first reason is because of low operating costs. Yes, you heard that right, low operating costs. Due to its after the initial investment, a nuclear plants are relatively cheap to run and compare to a fossil fuel plants. So basically, that is way cheaper than if you run to compare to a fossil fuel plants as usually used. The next one is because the lower energy production. Because it costs can lead to a cheaper electricity for consumers and industries and allows them to boost their economy productivity. The next reason is because it creates a job creation or job opportunity to the nuclear projects create a thousand of high-skilled jobs, including construction, maintenance, and safety. These jobs also contribute to local economies, especially in areas in nuclear facilities. And the final advantages is basically running charge is low. Well, because that using nuclear energy, it requires a low amount of money to use in processing this nuclear power generation. Now, there are some and disadvantages about the nuclear power generation. For the example, the first one is the initial investment is quite high. Why you might ask? Well, because the initial investment for nuclear power is quite high due to several major factors involved in building safety and operating a nuclear power plant. For example, first of all, is because of the complex of the infrastructure and technology. Due to nuclear power plants require a very high advanced engineering and technology, and it also requires a massive reinforced structure, and because it also specialized in cooling system and radiation shielding, and also this makes the building the plant much more expensive than traditional fossil fuel plants. Another thing is that the radiation protection and the containment system is because the special system that they are currently using is to prevent radiation leaks and protect workers and the environment. And these include containment buildings, backup, safety system, and many more, all which are very expensive to design and also to install. The next disadvantage is that people exposed to it will have the health issues. What does it mean? That they will expose into dangerous radiation. Why? Well, because of radioactive materials like uranium, if these materials or other radiations they emit are not properly contained, people get to exposed to harmful ionizing radiation. Is that it will really damage their DNA in cells, They will also kill cells and also lead to cancer, unfortunately, and can also cause burn and organ damage or radiation sickness in high doses. The final disadvantage is that the nuclear fuel is very expensive. Why? Well, the nuclear fuel is very expensive is because to the complex of and highly controlled process required to make in safe efficient and also is usable in a nuclear reactor. Because first, before they want to create a nuclear power generation, they have to mine the uranium ore, which is found in limited location and often deep underground. After that, they need to extract the uranium energy intensive and require expensive equipment and specialized workers to get the uranium for the nuclear power generation. So the next topic that I want to bring is the components. As you can see at my slide right here, there are lots of components in the nuclear power generation, but I selected four of these nuclear power generations that I want to present to you guys today. So let's move on. The first one is the pressurizer. So what the pressurizer do is that a component of the primary cooling circuit where the liquid vapor stages are balanced in condition of extraction so as to control the pressure, which is means that the cooling circuit is where the primary of the liquid and the vapor stages are in a balance so that they won't be in a highly pressure danger, that to make sure that pressurizer allows to hold the pressure in a very calm way. The next one is the reactor vessel. So the reactor vessel is basically made of a steel vessel that houses the nuclear reactor, which is the reason is that the main component of the nuclear power plant, where the fission chain will react to produce its nuclear composed to the fuel elements. After that, we have the fuel. The fuel is basically the material where the fission reaction take place. But because this is the most common material used in the enriched uranium oxide, it's also used simultaneously as a source of energy and neutrons in order to maintain two-change reaction. It is prevent to solid state in the form of cyclic pellets encapsulated into metallic rods of a 4 meter tall. So as you know, the fuel is probably one of the materials that were in the fission reaction that take place because they are most common in use of the enriched uranium oxide. And finally, we have the transformer. The transformer is a device that raises the tension of the electricity produced in the alternator. So the transformers will release the electricity producer and also in order to minimize the losses during the transport of the consumption points. So basically that it's also to provide energy in case of any consumption losses of energy at that point as well. And now finally, before we end it, I want to talk about the process of how does nuclear power generated. So basically, the uranium fission take place inside of a nuclear reactor is also release a large amount of energy that heats the column water circulating at a very high pressure. This water transport to the via the primary circuit by the heat exchange and also that produce a water steam. The second is that the steam transport into the generator turbine and then the set of the circuit, and after that they will use once there the vents of the turbine move to the alternator mechanic energy to transform into electricity. When the electricity will already be transformed, they will go to the water to steam goes to the turbine and set the condenser to cool off to become the liquid water again. And finally the water is transported to a new steam generator to become a steam again inside a closed circuit. That's all for me today. I hope you guys have enough information that I just give it to you. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Thank you so much and I'll see you again.